For absence first, please.
There are no apologies.
Okay, thank you very much. Any disclosures of personal or prejudicial items, issues for items on the agenda today? We'll go around the room then. So, Councillor Anderson.
Yeah, item 9. I'm a member of the Governors on Townhall School, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Stevens.
Yeah, for the local government appointments, I'm naming the report.
Okay.
Same.
Okay. Councillor Smith.
Item 8. I'm a member of the Local Authority Governor Appointments Panel. I've got dispensation to remain but not vote.
Councillor Hopkins.
Thanks, Leader. I'd like to declare an interest in item 8 as my daughter is named in the report. And also I'd like to, item 9, I'm a governor at Townhall School, so I'd leave for both items.
Thank you very much. Councillor Anthony.
Personal for number 8 to the Governors, please.
Okay, for those who are named in the report, obviously that's a prejudicial interest, so we'll need to leave the room, okay? Thank you very much. If there are no further declarations, we'll move on then to item 3, which is the minutes. They're on pages 1 to 5 of the agenda. If there are any amendments, I'll take them now, but I've not been notified of any. If not, I'm happy to move them as a true record. Could I ask for a seconder, please?
Happy to second.
Okay, thank you very much. Are we all in agreement? Okay, thank you very much. Announcements of Leader of the Council. 2 announcements from me today. First, Lee, to welcome 2 new Cabinet members to the first formal Cabinet meeting. That's Councillor Rebecca Fogarty and Councillor Andrew Stevens. Welcome both. Hopefully you will both... Andrew Williams, apologies. Thank you both for your agreement to join the Cabinet, and look forward to working with you closely over the coming weeks. And obviously we wish Councillor Francis Davis a speedy recovery as he goes through his treatments. The second one was just to reiterate the point that we've made as a local authority with regards to recent misinformation being spread by certain groups on social media. Again, it is not appropriate for any misinformation to be spread which is aimed at dividing communities and putting pressure on hardworking school teachers and school staff. That is the consequence of what happened in the recent communications. I know all councillors present here today deplore that sort of activity, and again we would hope that all members of this authority take their responsibilities seriously and make sure that they respect the Nolan principles, they act appropriately in the interests of the community, and do not engage in either spreading or adding to misinformation, and challenge it strongly wherever they see it. So again, I think it's just important to make that statement on behalf of Cabinet and Council. Okay, we'll move to public question time. Are there any members of the public who submitted questions?
None, Leader.
Okay, then we'll move to councillor question time, and we've got, I believe, Councillor Holly with us to ask some questions. Councillor Holly.
Thank you, Leader. I'd like to reaffirm what you just said about the misinformation as well. I think that's important, that it's right across the political spectrum. The questions are really about item 10, the update on the national insurance contributions. I've read the report, but it's not quite clear about how we are in the budget. I think we've overcalculated a little, but if I could have a little bit of clearance on that. And the other one is on item 11 on timescales. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Holly. I'll bring Mr. Smith in just to give you some technical advice in terms of the report. He'll do the same to us, obviously, but I think it's appropriate now he probably gives you that technical advice in response to your question. Ben, Mr. Smith, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, Councillor Holly, you read the report correctly. We made slightly on it as a result of the assumption. When I gave advice to Council, when we didn't know what we were going to get as national insurance compensation, I made an assumption of £7 million for ourselves. As set out in the report, we get 7.1. We also get some compensation for the Fire Authority, because the only way the Fire Authority can be compensated is by levying off us in each year. The bit that's still up in the air is that the Welsh Government made clear that they topped up the offer from their use of reserves, and there will be a new rebasing amount which will be transferred into the revenue support grant, I anticipate, when it's announced headline at the beginning of November, more likely the end of November as part of the Welsh Government's budget settlement. So it's not guaranteed yet at this stage because it's got to still be transferred into Revenue Support Grant. But as things stand, you read it entirely correctly. This punt got lucky, went for 7, got 7.1 for our own use, 7.4 in total because there's a bit for the fire authority and they have to levy off us to be able to get access to some compensation. So I hope that clarifies the position for you, Councillor Holly.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. Yeah, again, it's a really good estimate in the first place from you, but luckily fallen just slightly the other side. So thank you for that. Councillor Holly, did you have any other questions for today?
It was about the timescales for the historic vessels in the marina.
Okay, I will bring Councillor King in to respond.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Thank you, Councillor Holly. On the timescales, there's nothing definitive at the moment. Obviously, we want to move forward as quickly as possible because of the state of deterioration, particularly the sea mark. My understanding was that the Swansea dry dock, which is really the only possible place to take the vessels at the moment due to the risks and floating them any further, was waiting for a reapproval on their licence. Once that's been undertaken, then we'll aim to move forward, but happy to provide you with a written response with more accurate timescales. I don't have a recent update on that.
I would appreciate that. Thank you, Councillor King.
Okay, can I just check with Councillor Holly, is there anything that you wanted to come back on for question time in the closed part of the agenda?
I don't think so. No, it's in the closed part of the agenda. I would like to ask a few questions and make a comment.
Okay, all right, I'll remember to bring you back in at that point. Thank you, Councillor Holly. Okay, that concludes councillor question time then, and we'll move on then to the main agenda items. So firstly, item 7, which is the Welsh Government's ORP funding for 25-26, and I'll go to Cabinet Member Service Transformation. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Leader, and apologies, my camera's off, my signal isn't great. So yes, this is the optimised retrofit programme funding, which is from Welsh Government's social housing management portfolio. And this was established to decarbonise existing social housing stock and to help us meet net zero carbon emissions commitments by 2050. So you'll see in the report at item 3 the main objectives of the grant. And item 5, what ORP funding would support. So given the very tight turnaround for this, it wasn't practical to inform Cabinet of the bid because of the bid submission dates. So this is seeking retrospective permission to accept the grant. So you'll see at item 10, the proposed schemes are the asset management system implementation. So that is about our journey to Welsh Housing Quality Standards 2023 and to assess our assets. There's also surveys and quality data, including stock condition surveys, target energy pathway and EPC's energy performance certificates. There's some training because we need to have PAS 2036 training with our building services teams. That will enable us to carry out the next phase of Welsh Housing Quality Standard and some heating and renewables. And I also really welcome the Welsh Housing Quality Standard renewable and decarbonisation schemes. So Wenalaeth phase 3, Penrail phase 3, Penlan and Gendros phase 3, and some communal boiler schemes as well. So you'll see at item 30 that there is the indicative allocation of 2 million, just over 46,000, and that will be split between capital and revenue. So to go to the recommendation is that Cabinet recommended that Cabinet approve the grant funding bid for optimised retrofit programme 3 year 4, 25-26 proposal submission, and to authorise the addition of up to 2 million 46,036, which will be split between the capital programme and housing revenue account for 25-26, subject to the level of the grant awarded. Very happy to move the report.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. I'm very happy to second the report. And as you say, given the tight timescales, it wasn't able to go through all of the normal processes that it would have. But Again, a very useful allocation from Welsh Government to help us with our housing aspirations in Swansea. So with that, I'll just formally second and thank you for the work on this. Are there any comments or questions to Councillor Wood-Lewis from any Cabinet members? If not, could I all ask you to show if you're in agreement, please, with the recommendations? Thank you very much. We'll move then, that is agreed. We'll move then to agenda item 8, which is local authority governor appointments. I'll just pause for a second to allow those members with interest to leave. Okay, thank you, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Leader. It gives me great pleasure to move the report. There are 14 individuals named, although there are 15 appointments because one individual is being appointed to 2 governing bodies. There's 2 corrections that have been brought to my attention. The first is in relation to whenever Ysgol Calon Lan, and I think there's 4 references to Ysgol Calon Lan, there should be a circumflex, otherwise known as an acen grom, on the A in Lan, otherwise it's Lan instead of Lan. And secondly, the name Jonathan Desmond, that should read Jonathan Davis. With those corrections, I'm happy to move the report, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Very well pointed out there, and very happy to formally second the report. Are there any comments or questions to Councillor Smith? So recommendations with those slight amendments noted. Are you all happy to agree? Thank you very much. That is carried. We'll pause again for a second just to allow members to return to the room. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move then to agenda item 9, which is the capital programme authorisation for the commitment of additional funding for the remaining works required for the major universal free school meals capital projects. Again, another snappy title.
Another snappy title. Yes, thank you, Leader, again. And it does give me great pleasure in moving this report because, as members will be aware, the budget for the delivery of the universal free school meals provision included a significant investment in school catering facilities, and I would say a much needed investment. Most of that work has already been completed, but there were 5 schools where the level of investment required was much higher than the others, and they're listed in the report: Townhill, Winewen, Brynhyfryd, Mayals, and St Joseph's Roman Catholic Church, Roman Catholic School. What is being proposed is that a sum of nearly £3.3 million be committed to enable those works to take place, but that in the meantime the officers will be negotiating with Welsh Government to see if any additional support can be obtained from Welsh Government. And again, I think we have to recognise the funding that they've already provided, and that this would be additional funding to enable us to complete the programme. So I'm happy to move the report, and as I said, it has outlined the next steps which will enable us to deliver significant investment in those facilities in the 5 schools named, Leader.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Smith, and very happy again to second this one. And as you say, really important that this investment takes place, making sure that children have a hot meal each day while they're in school, and to ensure that we are able to deliver that across the estate, especially in those areas where we know many children would otherwise not get that hot meal in their community. So this brings the potential investment, as you've said, to around 11.5 million and allows us to deliver on the commitments. Absolutely the right thing to do. And again, thanks to you and your teams for the work that's being done to deliver the capacity to deliver universal free school meals across the Swansea Schools estate. So very happy to second the report. Are there any comments or questions from Cabinet members on this? If not, again, the recommendations have been moved there on page 22. Could you all show if you're in favour of the recommendations, please? Thank you very much. That is carried. We'll just pause now to allow members. Okay, we'll move then to agenda item 10, which is the update on the national insurance increases. And again, call Mr. Smith in to take us through the report. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Nothing much to add to the report itself. It is an information item only. I trust that my response to Councillor Holly probably clarified any bits that may have been unclear. We've already covered the net position for the authority, and it's merely to dispense with an item that the presiding member previously directed come to Cabinet for consideration. So it's for noting only. There will be some ripple effects and some potential knock-on effects as the wider economy is impacted by national insurance changes, and we await the settlement and see what the final transfer in relation to this one-off settlement for national insurance this year is in the core grant in due course. But I have nothing further to add in terms of technical advice, Leader. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Smith. And again, thank you for the work on this and again for your excellent estimation of the pressures ahead of them being fully defined. Again, it's a positive position for us to be in. As members will remember, this was referred, as Mr. Smith mentioned, from Council. This one is not for voting today, but for us to note. So again, I'm just asking you all to note this report on today's agenda and Mr. Smith's supplementary comments on the report. So we will do that. We'll move then to agenda item 11, which is on the historic vessels currently berthed in Swansea Marina. Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I'm very pleased to bring this report to Cabinet, which outlines a strategy for dealing with the 4 historic vessels that are located in Swansea Marina. Just in summary, just to take you through each of the proposals relating to the vessels. Primarily, the report is seeking to undertake restoration and repair works to Helwick in order for that to remain as the key feature really of the marina that is seen there. And I think this will be really important to maintain that visual appeal and visitors to the marina. The proposal there for the Helwick would be for that to go into dry dock, to have survey and restoration works undertaken, to mostly to external, but also to ensure that it remains watertight and viable to return back to the marina. The second around that is for there to be the revenue funding for the annual maintenance budget, just to ensure that the maintenance is ongoing for that. The Olga, which was returned to the council following a long-term loan to Tectona back in 2023, it's proposed that that vessel would be sold, and the monies raised from that would be ring-fenced to for the Helwick project, either as a contingency fund or around the ongoing maintenance programme required for that. The Canning, which is the 3rd vessel in council ownership that is in the marina, we were very lucky to have an approach from the Steamboat Trust, who have been undertaking some restoration works to Canning and wish to continue with that. And so it's proposed that the Canning would be transferred to them upon completion of the agreed loan period. And I understand that their long-term plan would be to be able to return Canning to steam and to actually be a working vessel again, which I think would be a very positive step forward for that. But certainly there'll be that long-term project of the ongoing restoration of that vessel. And the 4th vessel, which is Seamark, and to really stress that is not in council ownership. The vessel was abandoned in the marina back in 2013. It continues to pose a significant risk to the marina, both in terms of environmental discharge from the vessel, but also risk of it sinking and also potentially breaking from its berth and damaging other vessels in the marina. The ship is in severe corrosion, and the structural surveys have shown significant corrosion and asbestos contamination. And the recommendation there is that that vessel is deconstructed and removed from the berth to ensure that there's, to mitigate the environmental and safety risks, and that's a position that's been supported by the National Historic Ships Register. So the recommendations are outlined on page 35, and I'm very happy to move the report.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor King, and thank you for bringing the report. I think you've articulated excellently there in terms of the various aspects of what this report covers. I think importantly, people recognise the Hellwick as a historic element of the marina, and good to see that being restored and then brought back. As you say, it gives a new lease of life for all of the vessels. The Olga potentially going off to a new operator, and the Canning getting a new lease of life as part of the Steamboat Trust collection. So it's a good way forward for all of these, and very, very important that you pointed out the Sea Mark's abandonment by its owners in the marina, and what we are doing then to protect the marina for future use. So very happy to formally second this report, and thank you for the work on this one. Are there any questions, comments from Cabinet members? No, if that's the case, then recommendations have been outlined there on page 35. Could I ask you to show if you're in agreement with the recommendations, please? Thank you very much. That is carried. Okay, moving to item 12. This report is for an overview of the governance and assurance arrangements with our strategic partnerships. Cabinet members who sit on those partnerships may wish to add comment around the work, and can I thank those that do participate in these partnerships, sometimes on my behalf. Specifically, Councillor Williams, who chairs the PSB on my behalf, Councillor Gibbard, who attends the RPB, and other Cabinet members like Councillor Smith, who are on Partneriaeth Joint Committee. So again, very, very grateful for the work that is done by Cabinet members on these important regional bodies. In terms of the boards themselves, just a couple of things for me to draw attention to within the report, specifically around the progress on arrangements between the Swansea Bay City deal and the Corporate Joint Committee. We're in the process of bringing those structures together. Both City Deal and Joint Committee have practically the same membership. They obviously cover similar items. The deal itself is now 8 years old, has got 35 projects in delivery, and is well on its way to completing its obligations. It's a time-limited project in that respect. So therefore, it's sensible that that sits within the economic strand of what we are doing under the Corporate Joint Committee, and that is the plan to bring that together. The public advisory public sector advisory board has already been established. That has over 20 members on it, covering many sectors in the private sector community, to give us expert advice in terms of how we would deliver our strategy going forward. So again, work is well advanced on that, and we hope to see the new arrangements in place early in the new year. Obviously, Partneriaeth has gone through its changes recently in terms of how it's organised, and again, Councillor Smith may want to say a little bit about that. And obviously commend the work that's been done, the important work in the West Glamorgan Regional Partnership Board, specifically its links again across to things like the Drugs Commission work, and the work to make sure that health and social care deliver on our objectives. So again, welcome Cabinet members if they wish to make any comments, but other than that, I'm happy to move the recommendations on page 48 of the report. Councillor Gibbard.
Yeah, thank you. Just as you said, to mention the RPB, I think it's working really well at the moment. I want to put on record my thanks to the officers that run the RPB. It's a really great partnership between SN Health, Neath Port Talbot, and the third sector as well. Really good programmes, really important work that's going on in terms of our communities and older people, emotional wellbeing and mental health, dementia, wellbeing, learning disability, and children and young people, and neurodiversity. Those are the programme boards. I'm also really proud of the work that's going on there in terms of co-production. There's the forum that's been set up under the board to make sure that people's voices are heard through all of those programmes and are built into all the planning. So yeah, fantastic work across, and a really positive, especially considering some of the challenges that we have in this area.
Thank you, Councillor Gibbard, and thank you again for the work you're doing on that committee. Councillor Smith.
Yes, thank you, Leader. And members will be aware of the way the regional consortia have evolved over the years. These were originally set up, I think, about 20 years ago to undertake specific functions. And then, following the review around 2010, it was agreed that a number of functions would be undertaken by consortia on a regional basis rather than left with individual local authorities. What I think these arrangements now represent is the next phase in that development. I think things have moved on since the review, whenever it was 2010, 2011. Things have evolved, and the current functions undertaken by Partneriaeth and the current governance structure reflect the new requirements, what needs to be delivered regionally. And I think that is the principle here, is the principle of subsidiarity, that what is delivered locally by us as a local authority will be delivered locally by us as a local authority, but where we need to collaborate with others, then we're happy to do so. What I would like to say is pay tribute to the contribution of the officers into making a success of Partneriaeth, and also the scrutiny involvement from Swansea, which I think has been a part of been the backbone of the scrutiny for Partneriaeth. And I put on record my thanks both to the officers and to those involved in scrutiny, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Smith, and again, agree with all your comments. And again, thank you for the work that you're doing on that board. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Leader. Just to comment very briefly on Swansea Public Services Board. We're operating better than ever. We've got a very strong plan with our steps in terms of our wellbeing plan and objectives. We're working very well with partners, the NRW Mid Wales Fire Service and the health boards in particular. And just wanted to pay tribute and say thanks to Ness Young and Leanna Hearn for their continued support with the Public Services Board. We're in a stronger place than we've ever been in the past, and we are actually making great strides and making an impact. So pleased to report all positive.
Thank you again, Councillor Williams, and thank you for your contribution on that board and for taking on that responsibility in my absence. Again, just to close from me, sorry, Councillor Hopkins, apologies.
I just want to formally second the report. I know it hasn't been seconded, so just formally second the report.
Thank you, Councillor Hopkins. And again, as others said, grateful to the officers across the authority for the work on this, and specifically to Martin for his work around the City Deal and Corporate Joint Committees. And again, a significant amount of work has gone into making those arrangements work, and for us having that migration approach or transition approach to a much more effective structure. I did mean to mention as well that we are currently out for appointment of a new lead for the Corporate Joint Committee, who again will take on the role because chief executives were taking that role on a rotation basis, but again, it was taking them away from their core day jobs. And again, it's important that we have a full-time lead on the Corporate Joint Committee as we go forward, because the responsibilities at a regional level will continue to build as part of the CJC arrangements. So again, thanks for the work on that to all the officers involved. So the report has been formally moved and seconded. The recommendation is there on page 48. Are you all in agreement, please? If you could show. Thank you very much. Again, that is agreed. We'll move then to agenda item 13, which is the commitment of capital funding for the demolition of the buildings on the former Daniel James Community School site. Councillor Smith.
Yes, thank you, Leader. This report offers an opportunity to commit £2 million for the demolition of the current, what was the Mynydd Bach School, that became the Daniel James School, and that will facilitate clearance of the site and its use for another purpose. The other purpose, and I appreciate that planning and so on has to go through the process, but there is a clear intention that we relocate another secondary school onto that site, and in so doing fulfilling a commitment that has been made to the people of that locality that a secondary school will operate on the Daniel James site. given the state of the buildings, the age of the buildings, conditions and so on, that does involve demolition of the existing buildings. 1.7 million has been committed by Welsh Government to enable this works to take place, and then that will be topped up by 300,000 contribution from this authority. So I'm very happy to move this report as the next step in the fulfillment of a commitment that has been made to those communities, and I think is an important commitment that has been made as well, Leader.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Smith, and thank you for bringing this report. I'm very happy to second, and as you said, this is a commitment we made probably well over a decade ago. We were opposed to the closure of Daniel James as a school and campaigned hard to stop that happening. The community were left without a school in their area, and many of the pupils then were forced to travel outside of their core locality to get their education. We don't believe that is right, and that's why we are taking all the steps necessary to restore a comprehensive education, a secondary education in that area. And again, really grateful to the Welsh Government for the intervention rate on this, because of the nature of the intervention rate, it means that we can deliver significantly improved education facilities in that area, including improved vocational facilities for the children who will learn in that new school. So thank you very much, Councillor Smith, for that. Are there any questions or comments for Councillor Smith? If there aren't, then the recommendations are there on pages 69 and 70. Could I ask you to show if you're in agreement, please? Thank you very much. That is agreed. Let me just find my next page. And then thank you very much, colleagues. On to agenda item 14, which is the DWP Connect to Work programme. Councillor Anthony, please.
Yes, thanks, Leader. I'm very pleased to bring the report today. This DWP Connect to Work programme is a new programme targeted at people really that are far away from employment. It's a complete different way round to how we've ever worked. We've historically worked as in supporting people that are a long way and wrapping around with support and bring them in. This new Connect to Work programme is doing it the other way around, and it's providing work and the support whilst in work with employers, with the person, in a manner of ways to help people into work. It's a regional project that we're looking to go ahead with, and bringing 15 million into the region, 5 million pounds into Swansea. We're looking at the best part of 4,000 people really being supported over the next 5 years. It is an ambitious programme, and I can't thank the officers enough, Elliot Williams and Nia Pugh, their teams over the summer to even be able to put this report now together has been enormous, because but it safeguards jobs, and it can only benefit our community, our vulnerable people there that feel left out and would love to be in work. So I'm really happy to put this report forward and ask for you to allow us to submit our plans and then draw down the grant. So just my thanks to everybody. So if I can move the proposal, please.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Anthony, and very happy to second this one. As you've alluded to, it'll be a report and the fund which will allow the funding to flow, but also it establishes us as the funding body for the region, which again is something I'm very supportive that we do. And of course, this will allow us, as you've quite rightly pointed out, to provide the support to those people that need it across the region. The recommendations are on page 78, but I'll pause first before we go to the vote if anybody else wants to come in with any questions or comments for Councillor Anthony. If not, recommendations, page 78, are you all in approval, please, if you could show? Thank you very much. That is agreed. So we move then to item 15, which is exclusion of the public. The legal officer has laid out the rationale for going into private session. They're there on pages 96 and 97. Are you all in agreement? Thank you very much. Then we'll pause just to stop the transmission.